The Robbinsdale School District is one step closer to placing a police officer back into 2 Golden Valley schools when classes resume this fall.
Where it's not just going to be there for enforcement, but to be there as part of the fabric of the school to assist the principals, assist the teachers, and build that relationship with those students that obviously they need to have some other type of relationship with law enforcement to see that they can trust law enforcement.
This week, the Golden Valley City Council reviewed plans that would put a school resource officer into the building that houses Sandburg Middle School and the Robbinsdale Academy Highview Alternative Program. A police accountability commission in Golden Valley had raised concerns about placing an armed officer inside a school that's predominantly non-white, but Chief Green says it's all about safety.
It's just part of the equipment that we wear, but at the same time, if there is an active shooter, you would want to have a police officer there in that building who has the resources to take that threat down, and not to have an unarmed person who absolutely has no ability to stop that threat.
About half the cost of the school resource officer program would be funded by the district through a Safe Schools levy. The City Council will look to finalize the agreement at its meeting on August 2nd. A New Hope man who died after he was hit by a truck last week has been identified. The Hennepin County Medical Examiner says James Garcia was struck by an SUV on July 7th. The 67-year-old was hit around 1 p.m. in New Hope near the intersection of Winnetka Avenue and 42nd Avenue. EMTs pronounced him dead at the scene shortly after the crash. The medical examiner ruled Garcia's death an accident. New Hope police are investigating. They say the driver is cooperating with the investigation. No charges are pending in the case. The Wayzata School Board unanimously approved a technology levy for the November ballot. The 10-year levy would bring nearly $6 million per year to the district. The revenue would replace aging classroom technology. It would also be used to pay for staff training, cybersecurity, and physical security at schools. Since there is already a technology levy in place, voters wouldn't increase their property taxes by renewing the levy. Without the funding, district officials said families could see significant changes to day-to-day learning.
Well, I think it would change dramatically, right? A lot of our lessons and work that the students do as every day, they're using their iPad and their devices for the educational purposes. A big part of this too is our support staff, our technology team, and those individuals that integrate and help integrate technology into the classrooms.
The state does not provide local school districts with funding for tech equipment. Another school district will send a bonding request to voters this fall. In May, Osseo area school board members voted to put a $223 million bond on the November ballot. It would pay for construction and remodeling costs. We asked new Superintendent Dr. Kim Heil about the opportunities ahead for the district.
For some, it would be a challenging time, but to me, it's an exciting time because there's such a framework that's in place for us to do, and it's all about I call them our babies. It's all about our babies and what we need to do, and we have just passed a strategic plan, and we have a tight alignment to what we need to do.
You can watch more of our interview with Dr. Heil coming up on Sunday on CCX News and online at ccxmedia.org. Maple Grove Days continues all weekend, including a chance for you to learn more about the history of the area. The Maple Grove Historical Society will host an open house on Sunday from 1 until 4 p.m. You can check out all of the exhibits. The museum is located on the south end of the city's Public Works facility on Forest View Lane. A big part of that open house is a vintage toy exhibit. Our photojournalist Dustin Scholl takes us for a preview in this edition of Weekend Showcase.
This is a 1939 Pluto from the New York World's Fair, and that still works. It's a merry-go-round from the 1950s. This is really some neat things here from the 70s and the 60s. He's got G.I. Joe stuff over there. This is probably one of my favorites. This is a 1941 fire truck with the original ladders. We have a wide range of items here. You know, dolls. I would say this one is probably the late 20s. get some games in the back, a lot of Fisher-Price items. A lot of this stuff I've acquired over time. It's just a fun thing to do. So I think nostalgia is probably a big part of it, because almost every kid, growing up had some type of toy. And so reliving the past is the fun part. They all had fun playing with toys. During Maple Grove days, we got this big toy display and doll display and all of that. Maintaining history is so critical. Maple Grove Days draws in thousands of people. It's a great opportunity for the History Society to promote itself. I encourage people to come out and just relive the past, and they can see what their grandparents were using or what their parents were using. So we need to maintain the history of this city. It's vital because things change so fast.
You can't have Maple Grove Days without the big parade. More than 100 units made their way down a packed 89th Avenue North Thursday evening. CCX's very own Jenna Globe from The Connection and Rusty Ray from the News took part as well. We'll leave you now with some of the other scenes from the Maple Grove Days parade, which you can watch in its entirety right here on CCX Media.
The Sub-State American Legion baseball playoffs get underway next week. Wayzata mostly dodged the bad weather Thursday night to get 2 games in.
Wayzata beat Buffalo 6-5 in the early game Thursday at Clares Field, then faced Chanhassen in Game 2. The Wizards the visitors for this one, and they jump out to an early lead. Fisher Rowan rips one past third and into left field. Jonathan Pribula and Jake Berkland come around to score to make it 2-0 Wayzata. They'd add another run in the inning to go up 3-0. Chanhassen gets one back in the bottom of the first. Nevin Poppy drives a ball to the gap in left center field. Tim Kurzall scores on Poppy's double, and it's 3-1. Second inning, Chan's Johnny Nevin grounds one into short right field for a base hit. Steve Drago scores, and it's 3-2. They'd later tie the game at 3. But Wayzata takes the lead for good in the third. Charlie Guerin hits one off the third baseman's glove. John Scoro comes in, and it's a 4-3 game. And they add 3 more runs in the fifth. Rowan flares one into short right field that the Chanhassen second baseman makes a nice catch on, but Jake Berkland tags up and scores, and it's 6-3. Guard Swenson then slices one to the opposite field and left. Zach Pettit scores to make it 7-3. Wayzata goes on to win 7-4. The game was called after 6 innings because of bad weather.
Wayzata, along with Maple Grove and Osseo, are part of the Sub-State 11 playoffs that begin Wednesday at Osseo's Memorial Field. The country's largest youth soccer tournament got underway in the North Metro Friday morning. Earlier this week, we caught up with Sarah Soley from USA Cup to talk about this year's event.
This year we have over 1,050 teams coming to play in the tournament for both the weekend and week long, referees from across the world, so it's going to be an exciting time here in Blaine.
This is your biggest turnout of teams since 2019, pre-pandemic. About 100 more than last year. Where are you seeing the biggest growth of teams coming back from, say, even a year ago?
All over the world, really, but we do have a huge representation coming from Iceland. They're bringing 18 teams, which is really exciting. People were able to get visas that might not have been able to last year, teams from Chile, Brazil, Mexico. So it will be an international festival for sure.
You've got USA Cup weekend starting Friday, a 3-day tournament, and then the 5-day regular USA Cup on Tuesday. Are there teams that play in both, or is it usually one or the other?
Some of those teams that come from a far, far distance do play in both. And then even some regional teams, U19s especially, it's their last time, so they'll play both weekend and week long.
I understand you've got a special event Monday, which is not a game day for the tournaments.
Yeah, Monday we're hosting a college combine for both boys and girls. This gives kids the opportunity to show off their skills to college coaches and potentially have a chance to get recruited to a college nearby.
You're used to dealing with heat and you have contingency plans in place if you get really hot days. How about wildfire if you have some air quality issues on some of the play days?
So we have been working with the State High School League, the Minnesota Youth Soccer Association, and then of course our medical partner, the University of Minnesota medical team, to put together an air quality control plan. We will be monitoring air quality. There is a system over at the airport, so really close to us, and then we will run flag systems just like we do for heat. So, there'll be a yellow, a red, and then a black flag if we were to come into air quality issues.
You've added some turf fields. How many do you have now altogether?
Yeah, we're up to 7 turf fields, which is fantastic. It gives us an opportunity to play earlier and later in the day, also extends our season overall, and hopefully gives us a chance to rest some of those grass fields throughout the year.
Does this feel like a regular tournament again, so to speak, for you?
Yeah, it's exciting. There's hardly any restraints, but overall it's just going to be, a celebration. You're going to hear different languages, kids laughing, meeting people that they'd never have the chance to meet otherwise.
Find more prep sports games and highlights at ccxmedia.org and follow us on social media.